Hi, in A History of Christianity by Kenneth Latourette, page 400. In this video, we're talking about the Jews in Western Europe and the further spread of Christianity in Russia. Through most of Western Europe, the Jews remained an unassimilated minority, largely city dwellers and keeping to their ancestral faith. There was much popular feeling against them, and from time to time, mobs attacked them. Some of the Crusaders on their way to the Holy Land slaughtered men, women, and children. Through the centuries, there was a trickle of conversions, which occasionally became a substantial stream. Many of these were forced, and some were from motives of prudence, but others were from religious conviction. In general, the popes condemned the use of violence to bring conversions, but declared that if a Jew had been baptized, he had thereby been made a member of the church and was subject to its discipline if he reverted to the religion of his forefathers. Jews were especially numerous in Spain. Throughout most of these centuries, with the exception of occasional spasms of persecution, they were treated with leniency by both Muslim and Christian rulers. Indeed, in the 12th, 13th, and 14th centuries, they often rose to high positions in the government, and the administration of the finances of the Christian states was largely in their hands. Gradually, in the 13th and 14th centuries, prejudice against them mounted, and official measures were taken to compel them to attend sermons presenting the Christian faith. Presumably, some baptisms followed. Not until 1391, however, does toleration seem to have ended. And now the further spread of Christianity in Russia. In the first half of the 13th century, Christianity in Russia entered upon grim days. The Mongols swept into the land and made themselves masters of the area north of the Caspian and Black Seas. They were pagans, and the immediate effect of their conquest was adverse for the church. Many Christians perished, numbers of church buildings were laid in ruins, and service books and vestments were destroyed. Eventually, the dominant groups among the Golden Horde, the Russian Mongols, embraced Islam. It would not have been surprising if Russian Christianity, by the majority very superficially and unintelligently held, had disappeared. However, the net effect of the Mongol conquest was to deepen the hold of Christianity on the Russians and to spread the faith into areas hitherto untouched. In general, the Mongol rulers were friendly to the church and did not attempt to force their Christian subjects to abandon their faith. The church was given authority over its members in moral and religious questions, especially in marriage, sex offenses, inheritance, and the duties of children to parents. It was accorded immunity from some forms of taxation. The church was regarded by Russians as the one institution which was peculiarly their own and became a symbol of what might be called Russian nationalism. It was the tie of Russian unity. To escape the Mongol yoke, many Russians migrated northward beyond the border of Mongol rule. Numbers also sought release by abandoning the world and adopting the monastic life. Hermits made their way to the northern forests. In other places in the north, monastic communities were established. Around many of the around many of the latter towns sprang up, and the monasteries became schools in agriculture and the Christian faith. Through them, pagans were converted, lands cleared, roads and canals built, marshes drained, and improved methods of cattle breeding and cultivating the soil were introduced. By them, the Russian language was spread, and various Finnish tribes were assimilated to the Russian church and to Russian culture. Next time, the growth of Christian minorities in Asia. I'll put in a link to a playlist. Walter Rauschenbusch, the Baptist theologian of about 120 years ago, wrote a very famous and influential book called Christianity and the Social Crisis. I profited from that book so much that I made a playlist of the entire book. Rauschenbusch's social criticism is especially powerful now given the developments since he wrote it in 1907, i.e., two world wars and endless other crises. Christianity and the Social Crisis playlist on your screen. See you soon.